She looked me in the eyes and said she was pregnant, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I wanted to believe her. But the deeper I fell into her story, the more it started to feel like a trap, and I wasn't planning on staying caught. I still remember the moment she told me. We were sitting on the couch, half watching some old sitcom rerun when she turned to me, held up a little white stick, and whispered, "I'm pregnant." For a second, my heart stopped. Then it started racing. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't expecting it. We weren't exactly planning anything long-term, but we'd been seeing each other for a while. Casual, mostly. But in that moment, everything felt different. Bigger, more serious. She looked so calm, too calm maybe. I asked if she was sure and she nodded, showing me the test. 2 lines, clear as day. I don't know much about those things, but it looked real to me. My chest tightened with a mix of fear and something else, something like awe. Was this really happening? Was I going to be a dad? I thought I should be panicking, but weirdly I was. A part of me deep down actually felt excited. Like maybe this was the push I needed to get my life on track. I wasn't perfect, not by a long shot, but maybe this was my shot at something meaningful. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling, imagining cribs, tiny socks, bedtime stories. I even smiled a little. But looking back, I realize now I was imagining my version of the story, not hers. In the following days, things changed fast. She started sending me baby name ideas, asking about moving in together, hinting at marriage. I tried to keep up, to be supportive, to do the right thing. But there was this gnawing feeling in my gut I couldn't shake. Something didn't feel right. I didn't want to believe it, but it was there, quiet, uncomfortable, and growing. Still, I pushed it down. I told myself it was just fear, nerves, cold feet. I didn't want to be that guy who doubts a woman when she says she's pregnant. So I smiled, I nodded, I said, "We'll figure this out." But deep inside, I was already starting to wonder, what if it wasn't real? From the moment she said she was pregnant, it was like a switch flipped. Every conversation, every decision, every future plan suddenly had one thing in common: the baby. Or more specifically, her version of what that future should look like. She wanted me to quit my job and find something more stable. She said babies needed security, and my current schedule was too unpredictable. She talked about us moving in together, immediately, and how I needed to start saving for a nursery. It was like she had this whole script already written, and I was just expected to play my part. At first I tried, I really did. I started researching better-paying jobs, even though I liked the one I had. I skipped nights out with friends because she said it wasn't appropriate for a soon-to-be father. I visited apartments I couldn't afford just to make her happy. I was trying to do what I thought was the right thing: step up, be responsible, be there. But the more I tried, the less it felt like us, or me. Everything was about control. What I wore, where I went, who I talked to, it was all under this sweet disguise of thinking about the baby. She would guilt me every time I hesitated, saying things like, "If you really cared about your child, you wouldn't even question this." And I fell for it. I didn't want to be the bad guy, the father who walked away, the man who didn't believe her. But then the little things started to pile up. She never wanted me to come to her doctor appointments, said they were routine and boring. Every time I asked for updates, she'd brush me off or say, "Don't stress me, it's not good for the baby." When I offered to go baby shopping, she told me she already had everything covered. I started to feel like I was being pushed out of something I was supposed to be part of. Like I was only useful as long as I followed orders and didn't ask too many questions. And while I kept telling myself that stress makes people act weird, that she was probably just overwhelmed, a quiet thought started growing louder in my mind. What if there's no baby at all? I didn't want to question her. I really didn't. But the doubts were starting to get louder, like a constant hum in the back of my mind I couldn't turn off. I started paying attention to the little details. She never had morning sickness. She never seemed tired. There was no change in her eating habits, her moods, or even her body. I wasn't expecting a full belly after just a few weeks, but something, anything, would have helped put my mind at ease. Still, every time I asked if she needed anything, she acted like I was annoying her. When I brought up going with her to her next appointment, she snapped. "Why don't you trust me? Do you think I'm lying about being pregnant?" That hit me hard. I wasn't ready for that kind of confrontation, so I backed off. But the question lingered: did I trust her? I hated even thinking about it. I felt like a terrible person for doubting her. She was carrying my child, and here I was, snooping through timelines in my head and watching for signs. It felt wrong, like I was betraying her somehow. But the harder I tried to silence the doubt, the more obvious it became that something wasn't adding up. One night I couldn't sleep. I sat on my phone, staring at her social media, scrolling back through the past few months. I noticed that none of her posts mentioned the pregnancy. Not a single photo of a bump, no ultrasound pic, no baby clothes, nothing. She hadn't told any of her friends or family either. When I brought it up casually the next day, asking if her mom was excited, she said she was waiting for the right time to tell everyone. I wanted to believe that, but I couldn't. The worst part, I started feeling like I was the crazy one, like maybe I was overthinking everything. Maybe I was just scared, but deep down something didn't sit right. I kept replaying her words, her reactions, her weird deflections. It all started to feel like a performance, a bad one. I still didn't have proof, just a gut feeling. But that feeling was about to push me to do something I never thought I'd have to do. I wasn't proud of what I did next, but I needed answers. Real ones. I couldn't keep living like this, caught between guilt and suspicion. So one morning while she was in the shower, I picked up her phone. My hands were shaking. I didn't even know what I was looking for, just something to either prove me wrong or confirm the knot in my stomach wasn't paranoia. That's when I found it. A string of texts to her best friend. Screenshots, jokes, plans, but the one that stopped me cold read. He's totally buying it. If he thinks I'm walking away without a ring or a house, he's dumber than I thought. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. I read it again, hoping I was misunderstanding. But I was. There were no doctor appointments, no pregnancy apps, nothing. Just more messages about keeping up the act and how guys like him only learn the hard way. I put her phone back where I found it, heart pounding so loud I thought she'd hear it over the running water. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I spent the rest of that day in a fog. The betrayal was sharp like a knife twisting slowly. I had believed her. I had made plans, changed my life, dreamed about a future with a child who didn't even exist. But as much as it hurt, part of me felt a strange sense of relief. I wasn't crazy. My instincts had been right all along. I wasn't imagining things. She had been lying. That night she sat next to me on the couch, pretending everything was normal. Talking about baby names again, laughing about something she saw on TV. I smiled. I nodded. I pretended right back. Because now I had something I didn't have before, a plan. I realized confronting her wouldn't change anything. She'd just lie, twist the truth, maybe even cry. No, I needed more. I needed proof. I needed timing. I needed to be smart about this. If she was going to play dirty, I was done playing nice. So I let her think she'd won. But in the back of my mind, I was already working on how to take everything back. It was strange the way everything flipped in my mind. Just days ago, I was second-guessing myself, questioning her, questioning reality. Now I saw it all for what it was, a game, a setup, and I was done being the fool. But I didn't let her know that. I started playing the role she expected, maybe even better than before. I told her I was looking at bigger apartments. I brought her prenatal vitamins. I even started talking about baby names like I meant it. The more I played along, the more relaxed she became. Comfortable, arrogant. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger. And that's exactly what I needed. Behind the scenes, I started preparing. I took screenshots of everything, her texts, her lack of medical visits, her conversations with her friend. I talked to a lawyer discreetly just to understand my options. I asked questions online. I read stories from other men who'd gone through similar things. It was shocking how common fake pregnancies were used to manipulate or trap someone. But what hit me hardest was how easily it could ruin a person's life. She wasn't just lying. She was trying to control my future, my finances, my name. And if I didn't get ahead of this, it could spiral fast. Still, pretending took its toll. I had to watch my tone, my expressions, smile when I wanted to scream, nod when I wanted to demand the truth. There were moments when I looked at her and wondered how she could do this so easily, how someone could fake something so intimate, something life-changing, and not even blink. But I also knew if I cracked, if I pushed too soon, she'd flip it around on me, call me unstable, abusive maybe, the bad guy walking out on a pregnant woman. So I played my part, patient, supportive, loyal. But underneath, I was cold, focused. Every day was a step closer to the truth coming out. and every lie she told me now only made the ending stronger. Because I knew, sooner or later, she'd take one step too far, and when she did, I'd be ready. If I thought things had gotten intense before, I had no idea what was coming next. It started with subtle hints. She left her phone open with pictures of engagement rings, talked loudly on calls about setting dates and wanting a summer wedding. At first, I played dumb, smiled, let it pass. But she wasn't subtle for long. One evening after dinner, she dropped it on me. No warning. "I want us engaged by next month," she said. "I don't want our child growing up thinking their dad never committed." I blinked. "Next month." She nodded, her tone sharp. "I've been patient. I've let you take your time, but I'm not waiting forever. If you don't want this, just say it. But don't think I'll be sticking around with a baby on the way and no ring on my finger." There it was, the threat wrapped in guilt. I paused, pretending to be surprised. "I just want to do this right, not rushed." She leaned in. "Then prove it." I gave her the answer she wanted. "Okay, let's look at rings this weekend." The relief on her face was instant, and in that moment I saw it again, how confident she was that I was under her thumb, like she was playing chess and had me cornered. But what she didn't know was that I was documenting everything now, every conversation, every ultimatum, every time she brought up the fake baby to manipulate me. My lawyer had already told me it would help if this went legal, which I was now sure it would. Because it didn't stop at the engagement. She started talking about life insurance, having me sign things just in case. She wanted to open a joint account, move in, merge everything. She was trying to build a cage around me with every legal and financial tool she could. But I stayed calm. I said all the right things. I even bought a fake ring just to keep her convinced. Inside, though, I was done being scared, done being cornered. I knew this wouldn't end with just a quiet breakup or a simple truth. This would end in court. And when it did, I'd make sure the truth dropped like a hammer. I knew I couldn't keep this going forever. The fake smiles, the staged affection, the phony excitement, it was exhausting. But I was close. I could feel it. She had no idea I'd been collecting everything, recordings, texts, timelines that didn't add up. My lawyer said I needed one more thing to really seal it, something undeniable, a moment we could point to and say, this is where it all fell apart. So I set the stage. I told her I scheduled a private ultrasound, said it was a surprise for us to see the baby together. I made it sound sweet, romantic. "I want to hear our baby's heartbeat," I said. Her face went pale. She stammered something about having one scheduled already. "We can just use mine," she said. "I've already seen the baby. It was beautiful." "But I haven't," I replied gently. "Please, I want to be there this time." She tried every excuse in the book. Timing, stress. Said the baby wasn't far enough along to be visible. Even claimed she felt sick that week and didn't want to go out. But I kept calm. I didn't argue, just nodded slowly and said, "Okay." But that was the moment I knew. She had nothing. A few days later, I sat her down at the table and slid a paper across to her. It was a signed letter from the OB-GYN clinic. I'd contacted them. No appointments under her name. No visits. Nothing. She froze, her mouth opened, but no words came out. I didn't yell, I didn't call her names, I just stared. "I know," I said. "I've known for a while. I gave you every chance to tell the truth." Her face twisted, flipping from fear to anger in seconds. "You tricked me," she spat. "No," I said quietly, "you tricked yourself." She stormed out, yelling that I'd ruined everything, that I'd pay, that she'd make sure no one believed a word I said. But it was too late. I already had everything I needed. Now, it wasn't about saving myself from her lies. It was about making sure she couldn't do this to anyone else again. Next stop, court. I never thought I'd find myself in court over something like this. But there I was, clean-shaven, suit pressed, sitting across the room from the woman who had spent months trying to manipulate my entire life. She came in all put together, of course. Soft colors, fake tears. She even placed her hand gently over her stomach like she was still holding onto the story. I almost felt sick. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't confused either. I was ready. The judge asked the usual questions. She spoke first, her voice trembling as she told a tale of abandonment, of being left alone with a baby on the way. She painted me as cold, irresponsible, even cruel. And I just sat there, calm. When it was my turn, I looked the judge in the eye and told him everything, slowly, clearly, truthfully. From the moment she claimed she was pregnant to the phone evidence, the missing medical visits, the lies, the pressure to get married, sign over accounts, and commit to a life she engineered out of manipulation. Then I handed over the binder. Inside were screenshots of her texts, laughing about trapping me, planning how to milk money from me, even setting deadlines for when I should propose or else. There were statements from clinics confirming no prenatal visits. There were recordings, all legal, of her pushing me to open joint accounts and make it official. Her face went from smug to stunned. Her attorney scrambled, the judge called for a recess, and I could feel the tension shift in the room, like everyone finally saw what I'd been living through. That day, I didn't just clear my name, I exposed her lie. When we returned to the courtroom, her entire posture changed. The tears were gone, she didn't even look at me. She knew it was over. The judge dismissed her claims. My lawyer requested damages for emotional distress and legal fees. It wasn't about the money. It was about standing up for myself, for the truth. And for the first time in months, I walked out of that courtroom feeling light. Not just because I'd won, but because I was finally free. The first morning after the court ruling, I woke up and just lay there. No tension in my chest, no fake conversations to rehearse, no walking on eggshells or scanning texts for traps, just silence, real, peaceful silence. I hadn't realized how heavy the weight on my shoulders had been until it was gone. For months, my life was a storm. I was trapped in a lie, pulled in every direction, second-guessing my own reality. And now the storm had passed. The sky was clear. But freedom wasn't just about her being out of my life. It was about finally getting myself back. I started reconnecting with friends I'd distanced myself from. I told them the full story. Some of them admitted they'd been worried about me but didn't know how to bring it up. They were proud I stood up for myself. That meant more than I expected. I went back to doing things I loved, long runs, late-night movies, spontaneous weekend trips. I even went out with someone a few times, and while I wasn't rushing into anything serious, it felt good to laugh again, to talk without the weight of a lie hanging in the air. But there were hard days, too. Some nights I lay in bed wondering how I let it go that far, how I ignored my gut, how love, or what I thought was love, clouded my judgment so deeply. But I didn't stay in those dark places long. Because this wasn't just about a fake pregnancy. It was about learning boundaries, about trusting myself again, about recognizing that love doesn't come with ultimatums and threats. It doesn't manipulate or control. I learned that real strength doesn't always look like confrontation. It looks like patience, planning, holding your ground when everything inside you wants to run. And most of all, I learned that just because someone lies to you doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you cared, you believed, and next time you'll see the signs a little earlier. That freedom I felt, it wasn't just the end of something toxic. It was the start of something honest. I heard bits and pieces about her after the court ruling. Word spread fast. Her lies didn't just unravel in front of a judge, they started crumbling everywhere else too. Her friends distanced themselves. Some were shocked, others not surprised at all. Her job, gone. Apparently her employer wasn't thrilled when they found out she had tried to use a fake pregnancy to manipulate legal and financial outcomes. It wasn't just about what she did to me, it was about the kind of person she showed herself to be. And people noticed. Part of me thought I'd feel satisfaction watching her fall, but honestly, I didn't. It just felt empty. She built her world on manipulation, on control, and when the truth came out, that world couldn't stand. It was sad in a way, not because I pitied her, but because she could have chosen something better. We both could have had something real. But I wasn't angry anymore, not really. I had my life back. No more games, no more pretending. I was finally living honestly on my own terms. I moved into a new place, smaller, quieter, but it felt like mine. I didn't have to check in with anyone. I didn't have to fake a smile to keep the peace. I could just breathe. And when I looked in the mirror now, I saw someone different. Not broken, not bitter. Stronger, smarter, more grounded. I thought the pain of betrayal would leave me cynical, but strangely, it didn't. It made me more careful, sure, but it also made me appreciate honesty, kindness, and real connection in a way I never had before. Someday I'll meet someone who's real, someone who doesn't use love as leverage, and when that happens, I'll be ready. Because now I know what to look for and what to walk away from. As for her, she thought she'd trap me. She thought she won. But in the end, she lost everything. And I walked away with the one thing that mattered more than anything she tried to fake. My peace.